Manon Fiorot is one of the biggest rising stars in the women's flyweight division since it was introduced in 2017. She's going to be taking on the former Invicta champion who was able to get around. She won a round against the champion.
I'm going to talk about it.
Valentina Shevchenko. We're talking about Jennifer Maia. And this one, I'm going to throw it up there on screen from Jennifer Maia's Instagram. She announced that she had signed the contract 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago! So it is short notice that way now. For Manon Fiorot, she was supposed to take on Jessica Eye at UFC 272. I had gone back to Believe Land. We were training out a strong style, and unfortunately that fight could not happen. Now, did we do the graphics for it?
We did.
Did we almost do the video for it? Yes, we did. However, it was kind of scratched on such short notice. So this fight is thrown together, and for Fiorot, you look at it, and I mean, listen, you could already tell how talented she was outside of the UFC. Her first fight was a loss, a very, very close fight against Leah McCourt.
A very recognizable name.
A very recognizable name that lost to Sinead Kavanagh last time out. But if you look at it, she competes with UAE Warriors and just continues to rock off the wins. And whenever Canada's cut in, La Framboise, who I just saw had a fight announced, that's always exciting. Somebody that she actually trained with getting ready for her last fight, and I saw that one was Corinne La Framboise, because for her, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Fiorot actually played on the ground a little bit and won out in some of those exchanges. I think that is important. Although if you look at La Framboise in her career, maybe not the highest of highs, but when you consider everything, it is important. But when you look at Manon, again, I've called her the Maria Sharapova of MMA striking because it's a lot of when she's throwing those kicks, but front kicks, side kick to the body. Like, we know what Manon Fiorot is going to bring. And the level of competition in the debut, Victoria Leonardo, maybe not the best, but a recognizable name. Tabitha Ricci is not a flyweight, and that fight never should have happened, but Manon looked very good. And then her last time out against Maeda Buena Silva, that's where we finally get to learn a little bit, because Maeda Buena Silva, very good boxer, very good at closing distance. Judges scored the contest, 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. Manon was able to go out there and get takedowns, a lot of control time in that fight, complete performance from the beast in that one, and a little bit of a progression, a little bit of an opportunity for UFC fans to learn more about Fiorot. But when it comes back to it, Matt, again, she's 32, it's like John Cena, my time is now, and she is one of the more dynamic and impressive strikers in this division right now.
Without a doubt, and she's a genuine power threat at this division, in a division where not many women are. You've got Jessica Andrade, who can get knockouts.
Molly McCann,
who has the best elbows in the UFC. Funny story about that, I might as well tell it. A bunch of my friends were at an Xbox party, and I went to go get some food. I came back, the fights were on, I rarely do that. But I come back, and I put my headset on, and my friends were like, you're not going to believe it. Like, Molly McCann won via spinning elbow. And I'm like, you guys are terrible at lying. Like, be honest, pull out Twitter. I was wrong. I should have believed them. Wild outcome. This is a very weird fight, though, because it's going to be all one-way traffic, one way or the other. Either Manon keeps this fight on the feet and absolutely brutalizes Jennifer Maia, because as you were talking about the improvements in Manon's grappling, I agree. But it's very similar to when Jamal Hill was like, I know I'm fighting Paul Craig, but you've never seen me on the mats. It's like, okay, we get it. You've been improving, but let's not count our chickens before they've hatched. You still need a long ways to go before you get to the level of, like, a natural, talented, just a pure grappler. So with Fiorot, do I think she could hang for a couple moments on the ground with Maia? I do. I think she's very physically strong for this weight division, and I think that's the thing that really does help her, because she's so strong, especially in the guard. She can use one hand to punch and kind of get damage off, and it's really hard to be, playing around trying to get arm bars when you're constantly being hit in the head. There's that very old quote where it's, what happens when you hit a black belt in the head one time? They become a purple belt. Or they become a brown belt, then a purple belt, and it just keeps on going down. Because in jiu-jitsu, you don't have to worry about shots to the head like you do in MMA. And for a lot of jiu-jitsu practitioners, that kind of is the thing that really kind of unwinds them in the cage. They start getting hit a few times. I know Gary Tonin didn't have a great fight his last time out, but even look at that. He was playing around on the ground a little bit too much, felt a little bit overconfident, and paid the ultimate price for it. I don't think Jennifer Maia is going to get knocked out from her guard because she's playing around trying to get an ankle lock.
Jennifer Maia, leg locker.
But this is the thing that I do keep on going back to. Manon cannot grapple with Jennifer Maia for even a minute in this fight. She can, but I just think stylistically and game plan-wise, it's one of the worst decisions she could have, because Maia offers little to no threat on the feet. Oddly enough, she has a good body kick from that left stance. She is someone who, has a very upright style, but not in a way that like a Vicente Luque does. Like, Luque holds his hands high. He's got a traditional Thai style, but that's all serving a purpose. All of that movement is to try to set up his own strikes, try to delay your timing, and help him defensively. Whereas with Maia, It's a lot of the Muay Thai movements, but not a lot of the output behind it, and that's why I think she's really going to struggle on the feet. But again, even if Fiorot drops Maia, don't jump into her guard. Just let her get up, because Maia's one of these few grapplers who, when she's on top, yeah, she's dangerous, but even from her full guard, she can throw up arm bars, triangle chokes. You're definitely not out of the hot water once you get on top.
We haven't really seen it in the UFC. That's the craziest part. So for Maia, she has 10 wins by decision. She has 9 of them by finish, but 7 of 8 of her overall fights in the UFC have gone to decision. The wood submission is the only one that she has, and that was to get into the title fight against Valentina Shevchenko. And again, she was able to win a round. That's great, but what she looked like after that? Well, she fights Jessica Ai. 29-28, 29-28, 30-27 on MMA decisions. 2 of them had it 30-27 for Jennifer Maia. 6 of them had it 29-28 for Maia. 9 of them had it 29-28 for Jessica Ai.
I thought Maia won that.
She had a close fight against Jessica Ai. So then her last time out, she takes on Caitlin Chookagian in the rematch that everybody wanted and lost all 3 rounds. All 3 judges, 30-27. Maia just chased her around the cage and got totally out-volumed to the surprise of nobody. So again, she's taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice. You can say the same thing for Fiorot. I guess she was getting ready for Jessica Ai not that long ago. Again, that was UFC 272. Now she gets Jennifer Maia. Ai probably not a threat with her grappling. And
that would have been a tough fight for Jessica Ai against Manon.
Really tough fight. And for Jennifer Maia, again, it's that high Thai stance. She might throw some kicks. She will work in some of her boxing. She does throw nicely in combination. But Matt, when I look at the odds for this one, again, I didn't know what the damn odds were as I was doing my notes. There's no bias that way. And then just before we go live, I go on Best Fight Odds, I rate them down, and then we talk about them. I had no clue that Maia opened a plus 190. She's now plus 330, we'll call it. Fiorot opened a minus 225, minus 432. People really like Manon Fiorot in this one. The Topology votes, surprised us, they are to you. No, they're not. 970 total votes, 87% Fiorot, 70% by decision, 22% by knockout, for 13% that on Maia, 71% by decision. So all of a sudden, a year and 3 months ago, Jennifer Maia is going from a title fight to fighting Manon Fiorot, and she's a giant underdog.
If Valentina Shevchenko is Kevin Durant of this division, Manon Fiorot is like Brandon Ingram. If you squint a little bit, it sort of looks the same. They're both tall, they're thin, they shoot. They've got some similarities, but they just start to really break it down, and she does lack sort of the intangibles that someone like Valentina has, to where she's a great offensive grappler, a great defensive grappler. But honestly, strike for strike, Fiorot does strike in a very similar manner to Valentina. The big difference, though, is Valentina's a little bit lighter on her feet. She's not as much of a knockout puncher as Manon is. I know that might be a weird thing to say because Shevchenko does get more finishes, but a lot of her finishes come from ground and pound, come from submissions. She has a lot more different wrinkles to her game, whereas Manon primarily comes from the hands. I think Fiorot at range is going to have a ton of success in this fight against Maia, and the thing about Maia is that, yes, she has great jiu-jitsu, she has okay stand-up, she lacks the transition of the wrestling in between the two, so I do think that if Maia's having trouble on the feet, it's not like she can just decide, okay, now on my terms we're taking this to the mat, like Curtis Blaydes will have in the main event. I know we'll get to that in a little bit, but in this fight, if she's getting beat up on the feet, unless she throws a Hail Mary shot and drops Fiorot, I don't think she's going to be able to get it to the mat, and that's why I like Manon.
Maia is not as volume heavy of a striker as Fiorot. Maia doesn't have the downrange weapons up the middle. Fiorot, that's her bread and butter. Jennifer Maia likes to go for a high crotch single leg. Manon Fiorot is the bigger fighter, and from what I've seen, she looks like the stronger fighter. So
single legs work against bigger people, though.
For me, I look at it as a win for Manon Fiorot. Do I like her at minus 433 or what have you? I'm not throwing it on my card. And I mean, again, I bet fight to go with a decision is probably a minus 500, minus 600. So maybe you feel confident in that one. Maybe you want to throw that one down on your parlay. I'm just staying away from it. Popping popcorn. Haven't picked against Frances Fiorot in any of her matchups so far in the UFC. I'm not going to do so this weekend either. Both of us going with Frances Fiorot here.
Yeah, if Blaydes Silva was the appetizer to Fiorot's sort of conquest amongst the top 15, Jennifer Maia is going to be the main course. We're going to learn a lot about Manon, because again, Blaydes Silva is a good fighter, but Jennifer Maia fought for a title, and although she is only 2-3 in her last 5, they've been against nothing but top levels of competition, so we're going to learn a lot about Fiorot this weekend, and if she is able to get the win, I'd expect probably a title eliminator next, just because that's how wide open the division is. Her and Andrade.
Ceci devrait le co-main event de cette fin de semaine. I mean, really, when you look at it, No, your co-main event, Joanne Wood taking
I
on
know,
Alexa
but
Grasso.
I think,
but
yeah.
this one, more deserving in the scheme of the flyweight division, but I can't wait for it. Nonetheless, both of us going, like I said, with Fiorot in this matchup. Let us know down below if you have the former title challenger, the fighter that won a round against your champ, if you got Jennifer Maia or France's own, Nice France's own, Manon Fiorot, big time fight card coming up that you're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
Let's get into it.